we're going to let's start with Nintendo Switch Online, just our thoughts on it so far after about 4 years, before we get to the Activision lawsuit, and then we'll finish up with EA and their EA Play Live. So this came up because of those Super Nintendo games that were shown. We had, what did we have? We had Bomboozle, that was one on the Super Nintendo. Heard that one was pretty popular. Jelly Boy?
I don't know. It's just somebody with jelly. I think.
Yep. There's only 3 of them, and we're like trying to remember the names of them right now.
I never heard it. I think, and something Claymates.
They showed these games, and everyone just kind of was confused because like
no idea what those are.
I've heard of Claymates before, but like I don't know, Bomboozle or Jelly.
I've heard of Bomboozle before.
Okay, but like these weren't games that were like going to be like making headlines. Basically, they got put out there, and it seemed kind of confusing for people at first when they were looking at it, but then everyone just kind of said, well, that's Nintendo Switch Online, and they kind of moved on from it. But it wasn't. Was this the worst selection we've had so far put out? So I mean, we had one that was bad, but then before that, we had all 3 Donkey Kong games show up, 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back. So that was a pretty good run. But it does feel like now that we're into 2021, I noticed, because I was looking back through them, that the selection has been kind of on like a decline in terms of what they're adding on to the service. And based on last year, their next game update, I guess, would be in either September or October, a couple of months after July's release. So I was looking at the Nintendo Switch Online a bit more, though, in terms of like the features and stuff. I talked to you a little bit about this, Nate, about what was being offered here now after about 4 years, right, of the system. I looked at my membership, by the way. It said I started paying 2 years and 10 months ago, because remember, they did that beta basically for a little while, right? The beta where they didn't make people pay for it for a while.
First year was like
yeah. So we are coming up
like 30 days or something.
We're coming up on that the September anniversary or whatever when they started it. So I guess it'd be 3 years of paying. At that time in September, which means I've paid $60, which is what I pay for Xbox Live and PSN every year anyway on its own. But so in September it'll be a year.
I think this lineup shows that they desperately need to add new hardware to the service.
I mean, I think that's what everyone really would like to see. Like, yeah. I think most people want to see. I'm torn. Would people? This sounds like a time for a poll. Would people want to see either Game Boy or N64? I mean, those are 2 realistic ones, right? Am I missing one?
It depends on what you constitute as Game Boy.
Okay.
Are we talking about Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance?
I'm going to say yes.
No.
Just Game Boy brand in general. Game Boy, okay. Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. The whole thing.
Including the Super Game Boy?
What?
The Super Game Boy.
Advance isn't Game Boy, though. I know I'm nitpicking, but it's not the same thing. Game Boy, GBA is not Game Boy. It's a different system.
So can I say Game Boy Advance with backwards compatibility for Game Boy then, MVG, in this option?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
Game Boy Advance, and it includes that, okay? And I'm going to do that at N64, okay? Which system do you want to see added? Okay.
They still haven't even added all the best Super Nintendo games.
See, that's what I was going to say. Like, there is still a massive amount of great games that they can continue to bring to this service, right? I mean,
which one do you want to
put on Jelly Boy? What more do you want?
which games do you guys want to see added for Super Nintendo before you move on from that to like Game Boy Advance?
Well, I mean, there's the low-hanging fruit, of course, Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG.
So I'm glad you brought up Chrono Trigger, and I'm actually glad you brought that up too.
Never going to happen.
I understand, but I was asked, what do I want to see on there?
Let's rephrase the question. Realistic Super NES games
Earthbound
to the service.
Earthbound. That's the obvious one, right?
Earthbound.
Yeah. Earthbound is probably the biggest and most obvious one that people would want to come to the service before we get into third-party or licensed software from that era that just will never happen due to whether licensing agreements or that a publisher will find more value in releasing the game as a native
check
Switch
do you think Nintendo would have to write Square to get Chrono Trigger on there? Like, it would have to be like a decent amount of money. Yeah, that'd be a serious amount of money, I think, because I mean, Square really wanted to, they would drop it on there for $20. And let's be real, a lot of people would buy Chrono Trigger for $20, provided it wasn't terrible. And like
they haven't done that
version
yet, though. Which there's the DS version of the game, and there's also the Super Nintendo version of the game, and they haven't dropped it on the.
I am surprised they haven't done anything with that on the Switch, OJ. The way you're bringing it up here, it's weird because you figure it'd be easy for Square to do, and it's like easy money for them.
I don't think Square cares about Chrono Trigger anymore. Like honestly, I think they don't care. I think maybe they're setting something up. They announced a new mana game, which that's cool. A new mana game's coming, like a big new mana game's coming. So that's dope. But like they've done nothing for Chrono Trigger in like decades. Like in terms of new, there hasn't been a new game, like not Radical Dreamers, not that stupidity, but like an actual real game since the PS1.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
It's been 20 years. Like I don't think they care.
Is Final Fight on there?
Is that on the Super or the online? I don't no. Final Fight's not on there now.
Is Uniracers on there?
Uniracers is a weird, but that one should be on there because wasn't that published by Nintendo? Am I wrong on that?
Maybe.
Hold on. Who published that? I feel like that it had Nintendo's name attached to it in some way. And Uniracers was actually a pretty cool game. Yeah, Nintendo published that one.
I used to play it back in the day. It was fun.
You know who developed that game, by the way?
Retro.
You know who developed Uniracers?
Yes.
Who was it, Nate?
It's Rockstar.
It was Rockstar. I wonder if wonder if there's something up with that. Interesting.
Rockstar hates Nintendo. They're like, no, you can't have Uniracers.
That's where they draw the line.
You draw the line at you can take GTA, but don't take our Uniracers.
Uniracers with online though would be pretty cool. That should be fun.
Be a bunch of old people playing that.
What are you playing?
What'd you do tonight? I played Uniracers online on the Nintendo Switch.
What else you got, MVG?
Well, some of the Konami games, right? Like Sunset Riders and Pocky and Rocky and games like that. Like we haven't seen those. I mean, there's still some stuff. Like, have any of the Mega Man games shown up there yet? Like, I don't really follow the service.
I think they're keeping that on the collection on purpose, Capcom. But you figure they drop one, right? They're like, let's put one here, and if they like it, maybe they'll seek out the collection. That kind of makes sense.
Do you think that some of them don't want to drop these games because it's already on the Super Nintendo Classic, which they
I think the Super Nintendo Classic had a deal that was, and that's the reason it's not even sold anymore, is because it was probably licensing for so long to produce it, and then that was it.
That has like all the games that people, well, outside of Chrono Trigger, but it has Mega Man on there. It has Earthbound. It has Super Mario RPG. Like the Super Nintendo Classic's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So how does this work?
But I can't remove it from my TV.
Does Nintendo approach these developers and say we want to license your game for our service? How does it work?
That's a good question. I do wonder if Nintendo goes to them or they go to Nintendo over this stuff.
The reason why I asked that is because obviously there are a lot of publishers that just do it themselves, right? I mean, with their own collections, like we've seen, like the Lion King, Aladdin thing. So I think a lot of these publishers realize there's more money to be made if they just produce their own retro throwback collection of whatever games that they want to put on a cartridge and then offer some type of extras like art books and extra features, and then sell that versus putting it on the online store where no one's going to play the games. Or
let's just be real here for a second, MBG. Square Enix tomorrow, or Monday we'll say, shows up and they announce a physical copy of Chrono Trigger on the Switch, art book, the whole deal. It looks really nice and it's $60.
I'm buying it for 160.
A lot of people are going to buy that immediately, like day one.
God.
So
if they did that, would it be the DS version?
Or
could you switch? If it was
the good version, yeah,
the DS version is it's going for about anywhere between $100 and $200 for the DS version of Chrono Trigger right now, like brand new. So if they did that, that would be extremely appealing to many people, because that Chrono Trigger DS is selling a lot. People are buying that secondhand. People are buying it new. Everyone's snapping up what they can at this point. I bought that for $60 2 years ago, and it's it's supposed to be a $40 game when it launched. Was it 30 or was it 40? One of those two, either way, whatever. So the price has shot up considerably on that. That game's not even that old either,
Yeah.
Is ActRaiser on there? Because that's another game that I think would be great for the service.
That is not on there.
And Zombies Ate My Neighbors, that just got announced as a physical, right? So it can't. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think a lot of the times, the publishers themselves are just going to do it themselves, because it's not about like it's about making money at the end of the day. Like if they dropped zombies on the NSO service, I mean, sure, maybe some of us would play it, but like I think it generates a lot more hype when they announce that these games are coming back, right? And I think a lot of them just want to go down that path.
Let's look at that rumored Game Boy, the Castlevania GBA collection that we heard about.
Yep.
I mean, that seems like something that if Nintendo was serious about Game Boy Advance, they'd have gone to Konami and been like, yo, we're going to do Game Boy Advance this day on this. Let's lock these up and let's get it on that service day one, or, a month or two down the line, and they plan it out. But you see Konami right now, it seems to be gearing that up. And I mean, let's be real, they're going to put that everywhere, and it's probably going to make good money because those are good Castlevania games. Provided it comes out all right. I mean, it's M2. We assume it will, but and it's what we think. It could be two of them for some weird reason or something. Who knows? But that's where Konami is going to make probably substantial amounts more money than.
Let's be clear here, because some people think it's going to be all 6 games, and it's not. If they do it, it's going to be the GBA games.
It's going to be the Game Boy Advance games. Yeah, that's
Some people are thinking, oh well, they're going to put the order of
no, it's going to be the 3 Game Boy Advance games on there, and they're going to call it.
And they're probably going to do a separate one with the DS game.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to do a separate one with the DS games, which those are some of the best games ever made. So I really am looking forward to that one. But yeah, it would have been nice if they could have got like some of the Castlevania stuff on there,
The poll appears to be favoring Game Boy Advance over N64. Almost 2 to 1.
You know why?
It fits Nintendo's motif for these types of services. Game Boy, especially if we're just functioning on the idea of Game Boy Color, is that it's cheaper for Nintendo. These are older, they're probably less valuable in Nintendo's eyes as far as profitability goes in terms of individual new releases. So it just fits Nintendo's motif of let's make something that is cheaper and we can offer it and people are going to get excited. I mean, when we really think about the Game Boy line, what games in particular would really make it exciting? You're going to get Tetris. That's the iconic
Pokemon's the really exciting one for people.
You're probably not going to get the Pokemon games.
Yeah, which is what you figure they'd throw one of them on there.
You would hope, but I mean, that's where you have to get the Pokemon Company involved. And then there's going to be a lot of back and forth with that agency and stuff to get those games on it. But when you think about, you can get Donkey Kong 94, which is a fantastic game. But you kind of need that Game Boy Advance to give it more diversity, because when you think of just the pure Game Boy line,
Mario and the Six Coins, you got Kirby, right?
Yeah, man, the disrespect against the Game Boy.
It's not disrespecting, but at the same time, there's superior versions of these games already on the platform, be it with Super NES counterparts. The Game Boy line on its own, I don't think is going to instill that much excitement, which is exactly why it's probably what Nintendo's going to put on the service.
That's what I thought. Monochrome Game Boy. It's not even a Game Boy Color.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
regular
great
Game Boy.
It's a great throwback for their legacy and stuff. But are you going to play Link's Awakening on Nintendo Switch Online from the Game Boy, or are you going to play the remake?
I'm going to play Link's Awakening.
You will boot it up and then say, "Why am I playing this for?"
Wait, hold on, MG, you getting that Zelda handheld too? The Game & Watch?
Oh, absolutely, I am. You know I am.
That has like so.
I'm just gonna get it, play Forza on it or something like that.
It's I hope they make a move this holiday though on the Nintendo Switch. You know what? It makes the most sense is if they do this Game Boy Advance thing, right? Let's say in September, and one of the first games is Metroid Fusion.
That would be great. If you do Metroid Fusion Zero Mission, that'd be thrilling. If you do the Game Boy line, you can at least get Metroid 2 Return of Samus, which is a very different game from the 3DS one.
That's not thrilling, though.
No, it's not. I mean, they're going to give you, here's Wario Land 2. It's a fun game.
I agree with Nate, man. The Game Boy Advance is way more hype. And also, Game Boy Advance, the game's aged way better than N64 and Game Boy. Game Boy Advance games still play really good today. So,
I mean, go ahead, OJ. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was done.
Oh, I was gonna say, do we really do people really think that like for Metroid games, right? They're on the Wii U, which is cool. But do people really expect the 85 million Switch owners or people who are really curious about Metroid in that group to go get a Wii U? I mean, not really. No,
very limited stock, even in terms of the Wii U. So
yeah, if there's emulated or something, that's kind of where we are with it now. Unfortunately, it's tough when there's no real option, because if you look at Nintendo, they have a page that tells you what to do, and it's check your pawn shop. which is
Yeah, they actually officially said
they do.
Go find the second hand somewhere and spend like $300 to play Zero Mission.
It says you can go on eBay, and it's like make sure you sanitize it.
So here's something from left field that I want to throw a pitch to you guys, right? So we've seen the success of Game Pass. Game Pass is like just taking over the industry right now, right? Microsoft is killing it. So why wouldn't Nintendo offer up a Game Pass-like service for their Nintendo Switch Online and include N64, GameCube, maybe Wii, and Game Boy Advance, right? And then you've got games that come in and out every month. And maybe just offer it for a premium price, right? You know, like $10 on top of whatever you pay, or $5 on top.
I like it.
Do you guys think that would be successful for them, or do you think it wouldn't? Like,
yes, I think it would be successful for them.
In a perfect world.
Perfect world.
Yeah,
in a perfect world,
I would love that for them. But I think it comes down to Nintendo's hubris. They would view those titles as they're worth a lot more than $10 a month. On top of whatever, the other fee is. They view it as, why can't I just remake that Wii game and charge you $60 for it? And that's what we hit with the virtual console types of games, where Nintendo intentionally left certain products out, or they were charging us $15 for an N64 game. They view that value of their IP so highly, they're not going to gift us something like a Game Pass type service. Microsoft only has Game Pass because they want to expand that ecosystem to so many other devices, whereas Nintendo is still stuck in that old school mentality of it's a privilege for you to play our game.
And that's why, just real quick, that's why we get crappy games every month on NSO. I think what you just said is the crux of the issue, right? Like that's why we're never going to see Earthbound on there, because they feel like Earthbound has a lot more value, right? And they may or may not be doing something with it, right? I'm not saying they will, but you know what I'm saying? That they want to keep that up their sleeve just in case, they decide to bring it back.
Do you know what? If Nintendo ever wanted to explore something outside, because they're doing cell phone stuff now, right? With like different games they're playing around with. If they ever wanted to explore like subscription service off of like the Switch, for example, but not get into like newer titles or anything, that would make a lot of sense for them to do like a Nintendo Vault and do like their own like Game Pass type service on PC and on phones alongside of the Switch, and legitimately just cash in on all these retro titles at like a $10 a month fee, and just put it out there. And they're like, hey, here it is, online play and all this. And legitimately they could probably rack up tens of millions of subscribers in a year from that. Which I don't know. It's strange. You never know. Nintendo could surprise. They could do something like that. And knowing them, that you might be right, Nate. They might be like, nah, we got to keep everything, on the Switch because it's a privilege to play it or whatever. But I think from a business standpoint, that would be ridiculous in terms of that.
Their mentality can change over time, but we saw how Iwata put it out, where he viewed that devaluation of games as something that was very critical and dangerous to the industry. And Furukawa could have very different views on that. So there is the possibility that Nintendo would consider this moving into the future as they move on from the Iwata era mentality. And I think a lot of Nintendo fans would love to see that type of service, a Game Pass Netflix style service that really embraces the full library of legacy Nintendo software. It's just a question of, will Nintendo see that value? And if they do, what type of pricing structure will they put in place of that service where to us, the consumer, we feel okay with paying for it? And what type of, I'd say, I guess, long-term accessibility to the software will we see? We can't have Nintendo do what they did to the Wii U to the Switch, where our account system has changed. We lost access to things. And that's not exclusive to Nintendo. Sony did it as well. But you would want to know that these titles are there for the long term, and be it 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we can still access that service as long as it is continually running. You can access it on your current Switch or on your Switch 5. And we just don't know how Nintendo's going to approach that future compatibility with such a service. Microsoft has demonstrated this is possible. They span 3 generations of the Xbox ecosystem on the Series X and Series S right now. If Nintendo can do the same type of service moving into the future, I think it's something the industry as a whole would embrace. And I have hope that one day they will see the light and do it.
It's good for, as people have said online, game preservation as well. So yeah, I'd be fine with that. I think it'd be cool for people who would be interested in playing some of the older titles without having to download it and emulate it or go to a pawn shop. I think that'd be good to see. we'll just we'll have to see if that ever is feasible for them to attempt. I mean, we're 4 years and a few months into the Switch, so I'm almost wondering if they're starting to run out of time this generation for something like that, and maybe that's something they look to with like the Switch successor or something.
Maybe, but I mean, we also know that they have an emulator for GameCube and Wii, right? Like Nerd has developed those already for Mario 3D All Stars. So really, it's really just if they want to do it right now. And I think, you know, honestly, like if they announced like GameCube was coming to NSO, and you'd pay an extra $5 a month to access a library, I think that would be really, really popular with a lot of people.
A lot of people would sign up for GameCube, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But whereas if you put N64 on there, you know, people would probably have to cancel their subs, so.
Oh,
Man, the disrespect.
Dang.
Disrespect. Now, because I do still wonder if that N64 Classic's on the table, MVG. What do you think?
Oh,
Is it still on the table?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it is. I made a video on this 2 years ago, and I watched it like recently, and I was like, yeah, I feel pretty good about what I said 2 years ago.
I mean, we'd all buy
I don't think
it.
anything's
So
changed.
like,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Would buy it.
Well, I'd be interested to see what they would have used inside of it to emulate it. So
It seems like Nintendo's moved on from the mini consoles thing. Like it's all about the Switch now. You know, getting that stuff on the Switch hopefully is something that they've got on their roadmap of deliverables.
You say that, but the Zelda Game & Watch, man, I wish that was Virtual Console.
I hear.